Development's our last item. Back then, you had what's called waterfall development. Basically, this is high-tech's version of the 5-year plan. You define a set of requirements up front in waterfall, and then you move in sequence from there. There's no changes, or if there are, you have to redo the plan. And this is a lot of the same problems we talked about with the 5-year plan, particularly for startups. First, you don't exactly know what you want to build when you start out with a startup and you're using waterfall, and you also don't know how the customer is going to react to things as they see them. Second, you want to get a minimum viable product out the door very quickly to see if you're barking up the right tree. And this model doesn't accommodate that well. Waterfall is designed for building large things over relatively long time scales. Agile, which you probably heard of, is a much better development framework for startups by and large. First, it takes personas and stories as the input to development rather than requirements. Have you looked at a requirements document, a PRD, product requirements document, or an MRD? These look like federal legislation, and it's easy to miss things when you're writing up a description of what you want in those. It's also very easy to get out of step with the customer. The use of personas and stories in Agile is a great way to communicate empathy to your development team, which is very hard to do and yet very important. And the fact that you have developers working with someone who's out in the market called a product owner, that's a great way to foster creativity because your folks that are doing the implementation are regularly exposed to perspective from out in the market. The other great thing about Agile that's really important for startups is that your development is organized into iterations which last 2 to 6 weeks. After each of these iterations, you develop working product that you could actually use if you want to go release it. And 2 to 6 weeks is a good time scale for a startup. On the one hand, it allows you to react quickly, but it is a cycle and it provides some structure and continuity to your development team, which is also important. A little bit about Agile. A group of developers published the Agile Manifesto in 2001. It's only around 68 words, and the key points in it are that they value individual interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. And you can probably see a lot of consistency with what we've already talked about preceding all this. In fact, a lot of these ideas in Agile drove a lot of new ideas in the business community, like iterative management. While there are highly developed Agile techniques like Scrum, Agile's not about orthodoxy. And this is good because it allows startups to adapt it to their particular circumstances. If you're the one out learning about the market, that probably means you're the product owner in Agile or Scrum terms, responsible for writing stories and discussing them with your implementation team. One of the nice features of Agile is those 2 to 6 week cycles. And as the product owner for the past iteration, you should be out validating what you guys created with customers. You built it, it works, but does it actually matter to customers or not? That's what you're looking to validate. For the current iteration, you're discussing stories with your development team to figure out how best to get them implemented. And for the iteration that's coming up, you're working to write new stories to describe what you're learning the customer actually wants by being out in the field and interacting with them. To recap, in ideation, startups have moved from self-love towards design thinking, and that helps them build better products sooner. In organization, they've moved from aping big companies towards customer development, which helps them organize and resource more effectively. In planning, they've moved away from 5-year plans towards iterative management, and that allows them to arrive at a product market fit or pivot quicker and more reliably. And in development, they've moved from waterfall to agile, which aligns better with design thinking and iterative management and allows them to build better products sooner. Thanks for joining me. The book's called Starting a Tech Business, and its website is alexandercowan.com. I will be posting the second module on applications, how to do all this stuff, in the next few weeks. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm CowanSF. Thanks again for joining me.